Hello friends, you're welcome to Queen's Fashion World today. I want to especially thank my subscribers. Thank you so very much. God bless you for your support. And if today is your first time of tuning this channel, you are welcome. Also, do well to hit the subscription button and tap on the bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will receive an update. So today, I will be teaching how to draft a half-length princess cut. So stay with me as I continue. So these are the measurements I'll be using to draft this half-length princess cut. Shoulder to bust length 11 inches. Shoulder to under bust length 14 inches. Shoulder to half length 18 inches. Then the half length at the back 16.5 inches. Shoulder 16 inches. Nipple to nipple 7 inches. Bust circumference 38 inches. Under bust circumference 31 inches. Half length circumference 32 inches. So these are the measurements I will be using to draft the princess cut today. So for you to know the size of your pattern or the fabric to use to cut for this for the princess cut, it's just for you to, this is the zipper allowance. So you just mark the zipper allowance, then check the measurement. You will just check the biggest part of the measurement, which is the bust circumference, and you add a sewing allowance. You can add 3 inches to it for drafting. Then you place it at the front and make sure the front is bigger than the back, like more 3 inches for princess cut. So I will draft the back. Let me work with the back first before the front. Let me keep the front aside. So these are the back. So this is the back panel. Now this is my starting point. I'll place my tape on that starting point. Then I will mark shoulder to bust length 11 inches. So I will use 11.5 inches. So the next place I will mark again is shoulder to under bust length 14 inches. So I will use 14.5 inches, half inch to join the upper part. Then I will go down and mark shoulder to half length. Shoulder to half length is 18 inches. So I will use 19 inches. I will add 1 inch. This part is half inch. The bust length and the under bust length is half inch. But the half length is 1 inch. Half inch to join the upper part, half inch to join the down part. So I will go ahead and just connect the lines together. I've finished connecting my lines together. The next place I will mark again is the shoulder. The shoulder measurement is 16 inches, and shoulder is always divided by 2. And another thing, remember that the paper is single, but if you're cutting it on fabric, you have to fold it into 2. So 16. Because it's princess cut, I will add 1 inch to it. For princess cut, I will add 1 inch instead of half inch for the shoulder measurement. So I'm using 19 inches here. This is my shoulder slope, 1 inch. Let me mark the neck. The neck width, if you are using it for high neck, turtleneck, you can use 2.5 to mark. But if you already know the neck you're to use, maybe the neck is round, neck is wide, you can use 3.5. So let me use 3.5 to cut this neck. The back, high neck, I will just mark. You can use 1.5. You can use 1 inch. So I will connect my hand like this to this 1.5 and extend it to the back line. So from my shoulder slope now, I can now connect to the neck point like this. To the neck point. Mark my armhole. You have to divide the bust circumference. The bust circumference is 38 divided by 6, and you add 1.5 inches to it. So I will use 8 inches as my armhole line. Then I will check the shoulder measurement like this, 9 inches. I will mark the same 9 inches here. So I will connect these lines together like this to meet with the shoulder slope. Then extend this line now. This line has become the chest line. So to mark the armhole, from this point, you can just measure 1 inch like this. 1 inch, and shoot out the arrow up to that 1 inch like so. You can use your free hand The arrow is to guide you to know where to curve your hand. So this is the armhole at the back. The back is like this. So the next place I will mark again is the dart. The dart, nipple to nipple, you have to take nipple to nipple measurements. Is 7 inches divided by 2. That will give me 3.5 inches. So I will add ½ inch to it. So I'll be using 4 inches to mark the dart like this. So I will go ahead and mark 4 inches at the half length. Under bust, 4 inches. I also mark from the bust line 4 inches. Then I will connect it together like this to give a straight line like so. Then the dart. Now that is always a ½ inch at the back. So I'll just go ahead and mark ½ inch. Under the bust, ½ inch. So I will connect from the half length to under the bust like this. Okay. From half length to under the bust. Then before you now curve your hand to the bust line like so. Connect it to the bust line. So this is the shape of our dart now. The next place I will mark again is the princess cut. So the princess cut, you check the armhole is 8 inches here. You divide it by 2. That will give me 4 inches. This is the midpoint of the armhole. So you have to connect your hand like this. Just use a dot from this point and connect it to this, your dart point. Are you seeing now? It's very simple. So this is how you cut your princess cut at the back. The bust circumference is 38 divided by 2. That will give me 9.5 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 9.5 inches. And I will add, you can use 2 inches, you can use 2.5. Let me add 2.5 inches. Then under the bust is 31 divided by 4. So the tape is helping me to divide it. I will mark the measurement, then I will add 2.5 inches. Check the dart. We'll be losing 1 inch for the dart area, so I will add the 1 inch back. So I want to explain something. These 2.5 inches I'm adding to this measurement after the main measurement 2.5 inches is your sewing allowance. Please, for beginners, take note. The same 2.5 inches here, this bust area, I did not add for that allowance, but here I added that allowance 1 inch. So the down part, again, I will measure the down circumference. The half length circumference is 32. 32 divided by 4, that will give me 8 inches. 8 inches, I will mark the 8 inches like this, and I will add 2.5 inches for seam allowance. Then the dart will be losing 1 inch. I will go ahead and mark the 1 inch for the dart. So I will connect these lines together from the half length to the under bust and connect it to the bust area like this. Then I will extend it to the chest line. What I normally do, I don't measure the chest measurement. I use the same measurement with the bust, and it has been working for me. It's even better like that, for the chest to be free so that the person can lift up hands freely. So mark again is the back length. This person's back length is 16.5 inches. That is why I say always measure, because everybody's measurement are not the same. 16.5 inches. So if I'm to use this back length, I will use a 17.5 inches. ½ inch to join the upper part, ½ inch to join the down part. So for the zip area, so from this 17.5 inches, I will connect my hand to blend it to the normal length like this. I see now. So this is the back length now. The next place I will mark again is the zipper board. I call it zip shape or back shape. From shoulder, for you to know where your zip shape will start, I normally use 8 inches or 9 inches. Depends the person. From this 8 inches rather, I'm using 8 for this person. You keep marking till the down, till the half length like this. Then from that 8 inches, you carve your hand, just connect it to the neck point like so. So you see the shape now. This is our zipper board. Okay, so I'll go ahead and cut it out now. This is the neckline I'm cutting. Then shoulder slope. So when cutting the princess cut, you cut the center first. Sorry, let me extend the armhole. The princess line, I will extend it by 1 inch. Even though I've added 1 inch to the shoulder, let me still extend it like this. So and connect the armhole back to the princess cut like this. Are you seeing now? So this is the original armhole for now. So I will cut the center first like this. So this is our princess cut now at the back. This is what it looks like. At the front now, this is my starting point. Permit me to change my marker. The other marker is fainting, so let me use this color to draft the front. I'll place my tape at the starting point to mark the bust length. From shoulder to bust length, 11 inches. So I will mark 11.5 inches. And from shoulder to under bust length is 14 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 14.5 inches. Then shoulder to half length is 18 inches. I will mark 19 inches. This from shoulder to bust length is half. Sewing allowance, under bust is half, but the half length is 1 inch. Half inch to join the upper part, half inch to join the lower part. So I will connect my lines together. So the next place to mark again, I'll mark the neck line. The width is 3.5 inches. The front neckline, I'll use 5 inches for the depth, 5 inches. So I will connect these lines together. Then I will measure 1 inch. I'll mark 1 inch at this point and shoot out an arrow like this. From this 1 inch, you can carve your round like this. It's just a guideline. This arrow is to guide you, for you to know where you have to curve your hand with the round, like so. So the shoulder measurement is 16 inches. 16 divided by 2, that will give me 8. But I'll be using 9 inches to mark the shoulder measurements. So I'm adding 1 inch to it. So from this point, I will come down by 1 inch to mark the shoulder slope, and I will connect it like this to the neck point. So to get my armhole, the armhole is 8 inches, the same 8 inches we used at the back. So I will mark 8 inches like this. So I will go ahead and mark the same 9 inches. So this 9 inches is the same measurement that I got from the shoulder measurements. The same 9 inches I placed here. To mark the armhole round, I'll shoot out a arrow, 1 inch arrow like this. Then from this point, I will curve a round shape like this to get the armhole. Then the front armhole is always deeper than the back. So I will go ahead, let me find the midpoint of the armhole, the 8 inches. The midpoint is 4 inches like this. I'll mark the 4 inches. Then I will go in by half inches. So this half inch, I'm to connect my hand from this point now, connect it to the half inch, and look for a way to carve it to the normal round like this. The front armhole is always deeper than the back because of the woman's shape. So the next place I will be marking again is the princess cut. Use nipple to mark the princess cut. So the nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2, 3.5. So I will add the same half inch to it. 4 inches from the half length like this. I'll mark again 4 inches from under bust, 4 inches to the bust length. So to mark the dart now, I will mark 1 inch from the under bust, 1 inch like this, 1 inch this way, like this from the under bust. Then from the down part, I'm going to mark half inch. Please take note of this, it's very, very important. From the under bust is 1 inch. I marked 1 inch this way, 1 inch this way. From the half length is half inches. The reason why I'm using half inch at this down part, in case you're attaching a skirt to this half length, it will rhyme well with the darts on the skirt and the princess cut. That's the reason why I'm using this thing, half inch. So I will connect these lines together like this, from this 1 inch to this half inch like this, and I will connect this one like so to this point. So for this bust line, I will come down by 1 inch like this. Then I will come up by 1 inch like so. I will also mark the 4 inches line, extend it up to this point. So from this under bust now, I can now curve my hand. I will curve my hand to connect it to this 1 inch like this. Then, so by the side, I will also curve my hand like this. I hope you're seeing. I will curve my hand to also this 1 inch like this. This shape we are trying to get here is the woman's shape. We are not straight, we are curved. So whenever I'm making a dress, I try as much as possible to get the woman's shape. So it's just for you to move something at the down part and move something at the upper part, then the bust will kick out. So that is the shape we are trying to get here. So for us to connect to the princess cut, I'll find the midpoint. The midpoint is already here, the 4 inches that I marked. So from these 4 inches now, I'll just place a dot like this to connect my hand to this 1 inch. I see the shape now. Before you blend it well like this. Now the same 1 inch that we marked here, you go ahead and mark 1 inch this way. By the side, leave the center to be like this. Then by the side, you remove this 1 inch, you curve your hand. And now the armhole, the length of the princess dart will be short now. So I will extend it by 1 inch. Let me extend it by 1.5 inches like this. So this is the line I will use by the side, while I will use this line at the upper part. So I will change the armhole line now, the armhole curve to be like this. By the side, only the side, like this. So I will go ahead and mark the measurements now. The bust circumference is 38 divided by 4. So 38 divided by 4, 9.5 inches. I will mark 9.5. Then I will add a 2.5 inches as my seam allowance. The under bust circumference is 31. I will go ahead and mark divided by 4. Then I will add a 2.5 inches to it. I will check the dart area. What we'll be losing from this dart is 2 inches. So I'll go ahead and add the 2 inches back. So the half length circumference, 32 divided by 4, that will give me 8 inches. I'll go ahead and mark the 8 inches like this. I will add a seam allowance to it, 2.5 inches. Then I will add 1 inch for the dart. The dart at the down part is 1 inch. So I will go ahead and connect these lines together like this. This by the side here, if you're making it for a slim person, you can take this shape. For someone that has a flat tummy. So if you're making it for someone that has a flat tummy, you can use this same shape. That is the 1 inch by the side, also the 1 inch at the down part. In that case, this area now you will add that ½ inch back, so the shape will be like this. But if you're using it for someone that is fat, the tummy is big a little, so extend it like this. Just use the normal shape that we use, the ½ inch. But if it's a flat tummy, no problem. But this center, please, is like this, so that it will rhyme. In case you're using it for a straight skirt, it will rhyme with it. This is my half length princess cut. My princess cut is not straight because woman is not straight. We are never straight, so you don't cut it straight. When I'm cutting half length, by the side I normally remove 1 inch, but for people that are too fat with a big tummy, I remove 1.5 inches. For this person, is not fat, tummy is not big, so I'm removing 1 inch. Why I'm removing this 1 inch? Because of the bust. But by the side there is nothing here, so if you leave the half length like that, it will just drop. Sometimes you find out that if you're walking on the road, check people's dress, you find out that the half length dropped a lot. So I always take away something here, make the dress sit properly. So I will connect these lines together like this. So sometimes I don't cut it out, I will place it on a fabric, and when I finish sewing the dress, I will now cut it with the back before I attach whatever I want to attach at the down part. It's out now. This is the neck. I'm cutting the neck now, and the shoulder slope. You cut the center front first like this. This is the center front. So this is our princess dart. You see how beautiful it is. Women, we are not straight, we are curved. God curved us. You can use it to sew a chiffon dress. You can use it to sew English wear, office wear. Very beautiful. Thank you so very much for watching. See you in my next video.